Welcome to DigitalK.
I'm going to talk about innovation, which, as Peter said, is kind of a tired word here. And let me sort of back up and explain to you how I got interested in this topic. I started wondering, the most successful entrepreneurs, the most successful business people in the world, and the most successful companies, the question is this: what are they doing that everybody else isn't? So I started to think maybe they're doing something that the rest of the world isn't, and the answer is they are. They are approaching ideation and the creation of ideas by doing things that the rest of the world is not. And I want to share at least one of those techniques with you today. Because here's the problem. And what I noticed about those people, the world's biggest innovators, and I've been very blessed to spend a lot of time with a lot of my heroes, whether it's Steve Wozniak from Apple that I sometimes travel with, or Richard Branson from Virgin, or whatever. Just people that were heroes to me. I studied them. And here's what I noticed. The world's most innovative people, the ones that keep coming up with amazing ideas, they are taking in a broader section of the world than everybody else. And I'm going to explain that. I'm going to give you a technique for doing that. The problem is this. Let's say that you're in the healthcare business. Do you know what you do all day? Healthcare. What are you working on all day? Healthcare problems. That's your business. If I came up to you and I said, I'm going to the banking industry conference, do you want to go? You know what you would say to me? Banking, we're in healthcare. You would have no interest in that. If I gave you a magazine that was like, we're on top of a retail mall here. It was a magazine on how to run a retail mall. You would say, Jeff, we're in healthcare. I don't care how they run a retail mall. And therein lies the missed opportunity. What I noticed about these successful people is they take the time to see what the rest of the world is doing. I'm going to give you the punchline already. To go see what good ideas every other industry has, to see if they can steal them and be the first to bring those ideas back to their industry. So I'm going to give you a technique, and I think that I'm going to have time to give you share two things with you today. I'm going to give you a technique that I developed to model that. And this technique, this is something that I do every single day. And the goal is, you're in healthcare every single day of your life. Let's use that as an example. This technique, by the way, I call this info sponging. It doesn't mean anything. It's just the word that I came up for it. So every single day I do info sponging, and let me tell you what info sponging is. The idea of info sponging is every single day I take 10 minutes, guys, that's it. 10 minutes of your day. For 10 minutes, I challenge myself to learn one new thing every day, but here's the key, one new thing that I don't need to know. It's not about healthcare, and I'm going to explain this to you. So in info sponging, if you can't do this 10 minutes every day, this is the first thing I do every morning. Then do it 10 minutes a week. But take time. So for 10 minutes, when you get up, then during that time, you are not in the healthcare business, okay? Here's the rules for info sponging. You do not work for your company, and you are not in your industry. You are going to take 10 minutes, and you're going to go learn one new thing each day that you have no idea why you're learning. I'll explain how this works, and you don't need to know it. That's the key. You have to learn something that you think you don't need to know at the time. And let me explain why I do that. If you think, then I'm going to give you an example. If you think of knowledge, every new thing you learn, think of it as a puzzle piece. So if I gave you a piece of a puzzle, and I said, what is this? He would say, Jeff, it's just something blue. I don't know what this is. It's one piece of a puzzle. If I gave him 2 or 3 pieces of a puzzle, he would still say, they're just blue things, I don't know. But what if every day I gave you one more piece of that puzzle? And every day you took those puzzle pieces and you moved them around on your desk and you looked at them. You know what's going to happen one day? One day I'm going to give him one more piece and he's going to call me. And he's going to say, Jeff, I know what it is. All these pieces are going to form a castle in Ireland. This is what you do with knowledge. You collect a new piece of knowledge every day, and you move those puzzle pieces around in your mind. So here's how you do info sponging. In the morning, when I get up, remember, you're not in healthcare, and you're not in your industry. The first thing I do is I follow my curiosity. When I usually go online, and I read one story a day about one thing that I don't need to know. Now, people always ask me, where do you go to find this? Where should I look? And the answer is, do not overthink it. Follow your curiosity. And when I tell people that, I follow my gut instinct. This story on this website caught my eye, so I just read it. That's my info sponge for today. By the way, at the end of when you read your one new thing each day, thing you learned, write one sentence. That's it. Write one sentence about what you learned. I'm going to give you an example in a second here. So people ask me, when I say I just do whatever catches my attention, people say, when I tell them just follow your gut instinct, here's what I think, guys. I think your gut instinct needs a new marketing manager. It needs a new brand. And the reason why is when you tell people, I don't know, I just followed my instinct, it sounds like you're making an irresponsible decision. But your gut instinct needs a new brand. Your gut instinct should be renamed your fast intelligence. You know why? Because your gut instinct is the sum total of everything you've ever done wrong in your life. And it's the sum total of everything you've ever gotten right. So when my gut instinct says, that shiny thing, go see what it is, I don't question it. There's some reason I need to know what that thing is. Follow your curiosity. Read one story a day that you don't need to know. Write down one sentence. And each day, I then look at that sentence, and I'll give you an example. I look at that sentence, and most days, I have no idea. So here's an example. One day in my info sponge, I read a story, right? And the story is not in my industry. The story was about excess inventory. It was selling excess inventory, right? I didn't even know what excess inventory was. Remember, you're going to learn one new thing each day that you don't need to know. Okay, I don't know what excess inventory is. I don't sell that. We sell travel for a living. So I read this story. I thought excess inventory was a pair of socks where one's this long and one's that long, so you get them for half price. That's not what it was. Excess inventory is all the stuff in retail that you just couldn't sell. I sell these chairs for a living. I have 100 of them. I sold 90 of them. There's 10 left, right? I just need to get rid of these 10 because the new chairs are coming in. And so to sell the last 10 pieces of excess inventory, I want to get rid of them quickly, but I need a shielded pricing channel. That means I don't want my platinum customers who bought the other 90 to know that I gave all these to somebody for 20% because I just wanted to get rid of them. That'll upset my pricing structure. What does this mean? I don't know. You know what I wrote down that day? I wrote down for my info sponge, excess inventory requires a shielded pricing channel. I looked at it and went, I don't know what that is, but it caught my attention. That was that. That night I went to bed. While I was lying in bed, I was remembering something because these puzzle pieces are in my brain. And I was remembering another day in info sponging, I wrote this down. I wrote down a news story I saw that said every day in the United States alone, 600,000 airplane seats are flying around empty. And I said, are empty airplane seats excess inventory? And you know what it thought while I was laying there in bed? It felt like two puzzle pieces just clicked together. And I said, I think I'm onto something, I just don't know what yet. Another day for info sponging, I read a story about perishable commodities. Now, the story was about how to sell fruit. Guys, I don't sell fruit. I'm not planning on it. If you see me outside at a stand selling fruit, something went wrong. Somebody please help me, okay? But I read a story on selling bananas because it caught my eye. You know what the story said? You have 1 week to sell a banana. And what it said is, as the banana turns brown and then black, you have to move it. So you have to organize them, green ones, yellow ones, brown ones, and black ones. So you have to move the banana up front as it gets older, and you have to lower the price. You know what I wrote down? Perishable commodities require urgent placement and declining price. I have no idea what that means, but you know what happened when I went to bed that night? I was thinking to myself, what is a perishable commodity besides a banana? And I was thinking, you know what? A hotel room. What's more perishable than that? A banana you have all week. A hotel room, when the clock strikes midnight, those goods are spoiled. When you close the airplane door, all the empty seats are spoiled. That's more perishable than fruit is. So you can already see where this is going. I can remember back to a day when we were sitting up in Connecticut with a guy named Jay Walker who had this idea for this reverse auction, but talking about the fact that we could build an excess inventory, perishable commodity, right, real-time priced online distribution system. By combining all these ideas that came from different places, that system turned out in the US to be Priceline.com, and the rest of the world it's Booking.com. That idea today Booking does business in 180 countries, and it's worth $90 billion today. The seed of that idea came from looking at different ideas in different industries and saying, can we be the first to combine those things in a way they've never been combined before. So I want to share one more thing with you before I go, but I want you to try info sponging, and I want you to tell me what you learn. I want you to teach yourself one new thing every day or week, write it down, and look at it and say, what do I have here, and how do the pieces? By the way, I remember talking to a guy named Travis who was reading about the sharing economy. Then he was reading about task-based freelance work. Then he was reading about micropayments on a phone. Then he was reading about the transportation industry. Then he got an idea to build the world's biggest transportation company without a single taxi. Uber came from a combination of all those ideas, not from the transportation industry, from looking at it. So I'll tell you one other thing that really got me onto this info sponging. This is a true story that happened back in Ohio years ago. It was a fast food restaurant, like a McDonald's, but not. Just a fast food place. They sold cheeseburgers and French fries. They were trying to innovate. The way you guys typically innovate is that you look at your existing industry and try to make it better. That's what I'm telling you to not do. Go see what the rest of the world is doing, 10 minutes a day. So he went inside. They said, we're not growing hamburger restaurants. And the owner said, innovate. So the rest of them went inside and they looked at the French fry machine. And they said, we can't really make French fries faster because if you heat the grease too much, it ruins the potatoes. And then he said, what about the Coca-Cola? He said, we can't fill the cups any faster because they splash. He said, I can't see any way to innovate our business. One of the people, true story, left the building. And he said, I'm going to drive around to banks. And they said, really? Because banks don't serve cheeseburgers. You're not going to learn anything there. He said, I just want to see what they're doing. So he got in his car and he went to banks. His teammates were like, this is a waste of time. The first couple of banks that he went to, he learned nothing. But the fourth bank, true story, when he pulled up, he couldn't park at the bank. You know why? There were trucks in the parking lot. There was piles of wood. There were hammers and nails and carpenters. And he said, what are you guys doing? And they said, oh, we got a cool new idea for our bank. We're going to build it. And he said, what do you call this new idea? And they said, when it's finished, we're going to call it the drive-through window. And he got in his car, drove back to his hamburger restaurant, and the first drive-through window in fast food history in the United States did not come from a restaurant. It came from stealing the idea from a bank. He came back, built a drive-through window. McDonald's saw this and said, that is brilliant. They acquired this entire hamburger chain so that McDonald's could have a drive-through window because they invented the idea by stealing it from a bank. I want you guys to info sponge. I'm going to share one other story because I got a few minutes left here. I also want you to develop this talent that I noticed the world's most successful and innovative people have, which is they never lose their sense of childlike wonder. I want you guys to think like a 5-year-old. I'm going to tell you how I learned that. Why a 5-year-old? Because 5 is the age where they question everything. Put your shoes on. Why? Because we have to go to the store. Why? Because we need food. Why? Because we have to eat. Why? Because we don't want to die. Why? Right? The only way to stop a 5-year-old is to say, because I'm your mother and I told you to put your shoes on. They don't listen to him. By the way, you can't say, because I'm your father, because you know what they do? They look at you and they say, you know what? I'll just ask mom. So I have a 5-year-old for the day that I'm watching. And I said to her, I forgot something at the office. And I said, put your shoes on and go to the car. We got to go to the office. So she's walking through the house, and she's looking down, and she's kicking the carpet. And she turns to me, and she goes, how do they make carpet? And I was like, I don't know. My company doesn't make carpet. Who cares? Just get in the car. She said, well, just tell me how they make carpet. I said, who cares how they make carpet? She said, you don't know? I said, I don't know how they make carpet. I don't have to know how they make carpet. We don't make carpet. Get in the car. You know what she said to me? But you're an adult. I said, they don't just teach you carpet when you grow up. And she said, well, how do you think they make carpet? Now, I'm in an argument with a 5-year-old, and I'm losing. And I said, I saw a TV special by National Geographic. And there were these big machines, and they're like called looms. And I said, they have these giant machines called looms, and they weave carpet. And she shook her head in disgust. She said, you don't really know. I said, that is. That's how they make carpet. She shook her head, and I said, get in the car. So she walks up to the car window, and I said, get in already. And she taps on the window. And I said, now what? She said, how do they make glass? I said, who knows? My company doesn't. I have no reason to know. I said, I don't know how they make glass, and I don't care. She said, just tell me how they make glass. I said, I don't know. She said, you went to a good college. I said, I did not take glass in college. And she said, but you're an adult again. I said, again, I don't know how to make glass. She said, how do you think they make glass? Now, I don't want to lose to a 5-year-old. It's already 1-0. So I remember in 8th grade, we went to a glass blowing factory. That's all I got, right? It's the only thing I could come up with. I said, they have flames and sand, and they throw sand in the flame, and it turns into glass. She started laughing. I said, that's it. That's how they make glass. She said, whatever. I said, get in the car, okay? There's a show in America called Are You Smarter Than a 5th Grader? I am losing 2-0 to a 5-year-old. This is not good. So she starts to get in the car, and you know in your car, between on the windows on the side, driver's window and then the back seat window, the front and the back, there's that metal plastic strip that goes between them. She taps on the plastic thing that's between the windows. What is this called? I said, it doesn't have a name. Get in the car already. She said, well, what do they call it? They must call it something. I said, that is just a plastic thing between the windows. It doesn't have a name. You know what? She thought for a minute. She looked at me. She said, if this doesn't have a name, how do they order more of those at the assembly line? And I just stood there like an idiot, and she shook her head in disgust and got in the car. I gave this talk in Detroit, and everyone in the audience knew the part number. That's called a B-pole, and it has a SKU number. She was right. That is a part of a car. I was completely wrong. We get to the office. She walks in. We're walking in, and in her office there are these tables. And she said, what's that machine on that table, and why do you have 2 of those? And then, why are you printing that thing? Why is that girl on the phone? I was like, she's driving me nuts. You know what saved me? I broke the cardinal rule of business. I took potato chips out of one of my employees' lunches. You can't touch someone else's lunch in the employee fridge. I took their potato chips and said, will you stop talking if I give you these cheese puffs? She said, deal, and she went away. I went and sat down at my desk. I was upset. And I was like, I'm not upset at her. I'm upset that I own this company and I can't answer any of her questions. I don't know the answer. I call my office manager. I say, Marie, come in here. She said, what? I said, in the lobby, there's a table with 2 machines on it. What are those machines and why do you have 2 of those? She said, I don't know, boss. They've been here since I got here. I said, you're the office manager. She said, you're the owner. I said, find out what those are. And she went away and she came back and she said, no one knows. I said, they're in the lobby. We walk by them every day. She said, no one knows what the machines are. I call my CFO. I say, Glenn. And I said, I need you to do something. He said, why are we whispering? I said, because there's a 5-year-old in the next room, and I don't want her to know how bad I am as a CEO. And he said, what? I said, find out what those 2 machines are. He goes away, comes back 30 minutes later. He said, good news and bad news. I said, what? He said, I found out, the good news is I found out what the machines are. I said, what are they? He said, Jeff, before PowerPoint, we used to print our presentations and spiral bind them. Those are spiral binders. I said, what's the bad news? And he leaned over. He said, yeah, we're leasing those. So I've been paying for those machines for 7 years. Do you want to know why? Because you walk past everything and you don't see it anymore. A sense of, you know what we do at our company? You know what I called Friday? I said, Friday is 5-year-old day. Everybody come into we do this twice a year now. Come into the company, and I want you to be 5-year-olds. I want you to question everything we do everywhere at their company. Just keep saying why until we can answer it. You know what I think? We're 40% more efficient because everything that no one knew why, we stopped doing. So we do 5-year-old day twice a year. My employees love it. It's fun. Some of them bring in real 5-year-olds. And we say, walk around and ask questions. And the 5-year-olds find stuff that no one can answer, and we eliminate it. So I want to summarize by telling you 2 things. These are the habits and traits of the world's most innovative people. One I told you was info sponging. Learn 1 new thing every day you don't need to know. Write it down. Look at all the things you've written down and let the puzzle pieces float around in your head. That created Airbnb. That created Uber. That created Priceline and Booking.com. All companies that became worth billions of dollars. And the second thing is I want you to regain your sense of childlike wonder. I want you to do a 5-year-old day where you question everything you do and everything around you and just see where it takes you. It has been amazing for us to do that. By the way, I have a TED Talk out there called The Power of Wonder. It's the full version of how to regain your sense of childlike wonder at the world if you want to go look at that. I am going to leave you guys now. I want to do 2 things. I want to thank the organizers of DigitalK for bringing me here. It's been a wonderful time. And I want to thank EO, Entrepreneurs Organization. If you don't know EO, the reason I support them is it's one of my favorite organizations where entrepreneurs and business builders find each other to help grow their businesses a rising tide lifts all boats. Everybody works together. I am going to stay with you guys. There is an EO booth if you want to find out more outside, and I'm going to go hang out at the EO booth for a while. So I will see you guys out there. Thank you very much for having me. I hope you'll go out and innovate and steal ideas from smarter people than us in other industries. Thank you.